And so since it is Monday on a Tuesday. Hey, he's got the microphone. He's getting the microphone ready. Do I have an official thumbs up from you, Bart? See, he's in the there. Okay, we got the thumbs up. He's in the green room, and so that means one thing is that we now activate Bart Keeler. So, how was Festivus?
Fantastic, John. Fantastic.
What'd you get? Did you get a pony?
I did not get a pony. No. I got new tailgating equipment, so that was kind of fun.
Okay, so what'd you get?
2 new good tailgate camp chairs and some other accessories for the grill.
Okay, yeah, because man's got to ask. When you have these kinds of things going on. What I wanted to do with you, since this is your last appearance for 2023, in addition to reffing down here and anything else on your mind as we go, as we always like to discuss things. I also, as we go further down the line, I wanted to kind of get a bit of a retrospective on 2023 from a national team perspective, national news, women's and men's, and all these kinds of things, and possibly maybe doing a little. Well, actually, tell you what, we'll save the crystal ball till January 2nd. So when we're doing Tuesday, we're doing next Monday on next Tuesday.
Monday on a Tuesday.
Yes. So when we do next Monday on a next Tuesday, then we'll talk about 24. But I want to talk about 23 from a national perspective as well, as a part of your segment here before Maddie and Drew vent their spleens about their respective clubs at 10:30.
Maddie's going to be totally happy about what happened this morning, right?
No, she and Alex are amongst the same group. It is, but they're both Newcastle fans.
They're not happy with that result.
No, no, and especially how Nuno went against type. This Nuno I'm not aware of. Chris Wood hat trick. Maybe stopping Chris Wood would have been a good idea this morning. I don't know. But there were a couple of moments, what we always like to do in reffing down here. And one of them was in the Arsenal match. And I know that folks were in an uproar about, handball, no handball in the box, that kind of a thing. And a moment in the Nottingham Forest match with Willy Bolly that created a second yellow and a red, which drew the ire of Nottingham Forest people everywhere. Where do you want to go first?
Well, let's start with Nottingham Forest, because that is probably the most controversial and contentious event that happened prior to this morning's footy action. So let's start there.
Okay.
Which I don't think there's anything controversial in that game this morning. I just, we've started a new round.
Yes, yeah, we're in festive fixtures. So the festive fixtures round of reffing down here, that'll end up with next week.
Yeah. Before this, no festivities. Not festivities.
No. There was no Festivus or anything like that. And the moment that honestly sticks in folks' minds, okay, Willy Bolly, he got the yellow. That we understand. He got the first yellow, great. Then he gets the second yellow in quick succession, and he's wondering what happened. And you look at replays, and he was the one that got stepped on. And then you end up with review, and it wasn't reversed, and he ends up with a second yellow and a red, and fourth having to play with man down.
So this is the tough part, because we know VAR is for match-changing incidents, right? Unfortunately, a second yellow card, even though it does result in a red card, yellow cards aren't part of all that necessarily. So, you're reviewing, is it a yellow card or not? Not is it a red card? I think most sane people would agree that is nowhere close to being a red card. And I would very much argue that it's not even a yellow card foul, to be honest. As you pointed out, Bolly is the one who gets stepped on. He clearly wins the ball. Yes, his follow through is a little extreme, but it's not like his foot was anywhere in a dangerous position, and he's the one who ends up getting stepped on. I'll be honest, I thought it was an absolutely blown call from the referee. I'm sorry, it was, because not only was it, to me, still not even a yellow card, it should not have been resulting in a sending off at all. It sucks that we can't really review it for a true red card, but it was something that really annoyed me on that day, because it was,
really?
It really did, because it was such a an egregious mistake that, affected Forest in that game. Now, granted, they came out, unfortunately, they come out and they do well until the very, very end. But,
Right.
would having 11 men on the field have changed that result? I don't know. But you can definitely say that red card changed the match. And more importantly, that red card should, in my opinion, not have been a red card.
Telegraph has a report that says Nottingham Forest have written to Howard Webb to demand Rob Jones be suspended from officiating their matches following the blunder and sending off Willie Bawley.
This would be a dangerous precedent to set that, I don't want this referee refereeing my matches, right?
I don't like him anymore. He can't play. He can't.
But I do agree that there maybe needs to be some sort of like, hey, maybe he doesn't need to referee our match for the rest of the year, because at that point, this is from a referee standpoint, it could lead to problems in the next match. Mm-hmm. And this happens a lot at my level where, unfortunately, whether they like it or not, a lot of clubs get me a lot, and I get a lot of the same teams a lot because, I'm put on these games that are high level, mostly the older age groups. You're going to see me a lot. I know Coach Steve out of Rush Union, I don't referee his teams a lot, but I do referee a lot of the same teams at Rush Union, and I see a lot of the same coaches week in and week out. Same at UFA up and coming. And it's not that there's bad blood, but you do remember times that the referee wasn't kind to you. And that can spill over with coaches making comments about previous matches. And, it is something that I would entertain, just because I think both sides would probably benefit from not officiating a match, that referee officiating a match anytime soon. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, Webb has contacted Nuno to confirm Jones made a serious error in showing the second yellow. The club want Webb to go further, having already written to him this season to complain about a decision involving the same guy, while they've also demanded any recording of the conversation between referee and VAR in relation to the incident, as well as that which saw them denied a penalty for a handball by Adam Smith. And then to compound the error, Bowley was suspended today, as the laws of the game do not allow automatic bans incurred for second yellow cards to be overturned, even as Howard Webb has admitted serious error.
Yeah. Again, a difficult situation, because unfortunately this is, at present time, what happened is not fixable. Mm-hmm. And that's the frustrating part.
They also want to know why a penalty was not awarded after the ball hit Smith's hand when both his feet appeared to be inside the box, with his arm adjudged by VAR to have been outside the area.
Yeah, that one I don't necessarily disagree with what they said, but I didn't see any sort of – I think the problem is I didn't see an angle personally, and I'm just watching on television, that would have shown whether the hand was in or outside of the box. But his feet were pretty far inside the box, so I'd have to wonder how his hand was also not on the line or fully inside the penalty area, But I'm trying to do my geometry best, my trigonometry, and going, okay, well, how does this work if his feet are 2 feet inside the box, but his hand is still somehow outside that?
But you can't do trig if
you can't. Exactly. You have to have clear and obvious evidence that shows that this was or was not a penalty. And to me, that just goes back to why don't you have a camera angle that can show that? That seems a little weird to me, that in the Premier League, the best, richest, bestest, most fantasticest league in the world, John, doesn't have that camera angle. Am I wrong? Are they not the best, most fantasticest league in the world?
The best, most fantasticest? Yeah. I think that is actually on the marketing. That is on the marketing program. But to your point, not every stadium is the same. They don't all look like Riverfront, Three Rivers, Atlanta Fulton County Stadium, to where you have the same makeup, the same camera angles, and the same capabilities for for cameras to
What are
be
you talking about?
positioned.
Those were very different, John. One was on a river, one was on 3 rivers, and one was in the middle of a parking lot. They're very
That's
different.
true. That is absolutely true. The geography that's attached. But what you're having here, Turf Moor is not the same as Kenilworth Road, is not the same as the Vitality, is not the same as Old Trafford, is not the same as St. James. So you're trying to sit there and fit cameras in those best positions, the slashes at the 30s and things like that. And so you're going to have moments in the best, most fantasticest league of the world where you can't play trig, and you got to go with the information that's there with you.
Exactly. But and that's the unfortunate reality, is you just can't go back and do that, oh well.
Yeah, well, and this is continuing our stuff with Mr. Jones and me.
Don't forget the vet. No, you can't forget the vet.
No,
the carpet that was known to take out people's knees, legs, ankles, and I think brains as well at many points.
And had people throwing and booing at Santa Claus. The Forest want Jones suspended from officiating them until all concerns are addressed. I think that's a bit far-fetched and high-handed.
Well, what does concerns addressed mean? Do you want them to come, give a gift basket or edible arrangement and say, I'm sorry? Again, I think that it's completely fair. And the fact that they have had problems with him twice this year is a legitimate request to say, hey, let's not have him for our next match, please.
Yeah.
Or even, take a month or 2 off or whatever. But the idea that he can just somehow not be assigned to you is problem. I mean, I get it. I truly do. But the reality is that is unlikely to be able to truly happen, because you're just, especially where Nottingham sits in the table, you're going to get a referee like that because you're not higher up in the table. And also you were playing, who was that, Bournemouth, right?
Yeah.
Also not a high up in the table team. So you're getting, whether people like to admit it or not, certain referees do get certain games for a certain reason. You notice Atlanta United does seem to get good referees.
Guido Gonzalez Jr.
Yeah. But we also get a lot of the bad ones when we're playing teams like, Miami. Oh, wait, I'm sorry. They're supposed to be the best team that's ever existed. Luis Suarez, if you need a knee, don't come asking me, because I also have 2 bad ones. So
the best, most fantasticest team in Major League Soccer just out.
That still can't make the playoffs. But hey, congrats, you won a fake trophy.
Oops.
And then complain about match congestion.
Well, then don't win as many games. Yeah, don't be in as many tournaments.
You clearly had no problem not winning games in the league. You could have just practiced that in the cup competitions.
And then you got beat by Hell in a Shell. You got beat by your favorite Ben Olsen and Houston Dynamo. The incident in the Arsenal game, I know that was drawing a lot of ire. Which one? As well. The handball, not a
they
handball.
They were both right.
Of course they were. And that's why I wanted to bring them up in this segment.
No, I think my stance on so the handball against Odegaard, I fully understand the outrage, because his hand is not on the ground, right? So the what they were using was this clause in the laws of the game that talks about if your arm is basically on the ground, we're not going to penalize you for that, because how else are you supposed to even try to get up off the field or whatever? So They kind of liberally applied that to, well, he's falling down, so his arm was there to kind of brace himself as he fell. He never did have to truly catch himself from falling, which, fine. What I would say is, I think these are the types of handballs that we would like to keep out of the game, if that makes sense. We would like to not have to call these little ticky-tack ones where a guy is falling over, or it's just a pass that happens to be going the wrong way. I understand the outrage on it, though. To that, I would say, Liverpool maybe score on a 5v1.
Oh, spoken by the Arsenal fan.
So it's the referee's fault y'all didn't score in a 5v1. So
yeah, they did have those kinds of moments in that particular match. The study did come out, by the way, that they looked back, I think, over the last 2 decades, and there's only one instance in the last 2 decades where the team that did not win the title was outside the top 4 at Christmas. and I think it was the year that
Was that
Manchester City.
Leicester?
That was Manchester City was in 8th.
Oh, yeah. Okay, that. Yes.
Then they stormed back, and Pep Guardiola is now saying, "Okay, you doubt us? Okay, fine, cool." And then
I find myself in a difficult situation today, John, because I have to want good things for Manchester United, and I don't love that position and feeling.
but Drew will be happy to accept your plaudits.
It makes me feel not great. Hey, listen, if y'all gonna bunker ball your way to a win, might as well do it today, because you haven't done it in the past month and a half. Premier League manager in the month, though.
Bang! Absolutely. Looking at the year in U.S. soccer from a national team perspective, on the men's and women's side, I guess let's start with the women. Ladies first, because we do.
There's your word, John. Disappointing.
Okay, so when you look back, you mentioned disappointing. Let's work it forward a little bit as we go here with the discussion. You mentioned disappointing. Why?
Well, you didn't win the World Cup. I mean, unfortunately, that is the standard they've set, right? They could have finished third, and it would have been slightly disappointing. But I think what's disappointing is how and why they did not perform well at the World Cup. Obviously, right. The exit in the round of 16 is unideal and is a failure. Like, we have to call that what it is for this program. That's a failure. Not winning a World Cup for this program is a failure. If Alabama doesn't win a national championship, it's a failed season. I'm sorry. Paul. That's just the standard we have, Paul. If Georgia doesn't bark at 12 kids on a Saturday, then it's a failed Saturday for them. So you have standards that this program has. So it's disappointing from that regard. But it was disappointing because this team looked completely lost, completely unimaginative, and devoid of any real attacking power, which we've said all along is where their strength actually lies. I mean, we didn't concede but 3 goals all season, all year. That's impressive. We only conceded 1 the entire tournament, somehow lost, in the round of 16. But it's because you have all this attacking talent on the field, players who have won golden boots in leagues, the 2 reigning NWSL last 2-year golden boots in NWSL on that field. Lynn Williams, a 4-time, NWSL champion. Lindsey Horan, a Champions League winner and Division Feminine winner. All this attacking talent, and you can't manage to score but 4 goals in a tournament. That is disappointing as well. And you have to be critical because, again, this program has a standard that is higher than anything else in the world. And you can also be happy that the powers that be looked at this and said, yeah, that's not good enough, and made drastic changes to make sure that it would hopefully not be this way in the future. I mean, 2 people lost their jobs because of this. Kate Markgraf, I know that she decided to not stay on, but you have to also look at how she handled her job as GM of the women's national team program, and really call into question if she did anything right, because she hired some coaches who, quite honestly, one coach, Tracy Kevins, who I hope never coaches soccer ever again, because she's a soccer terrorist. People want to talk about that with Berhalter. Kevins is worse. But
wow.
She took, a lot of young, promising talent, moved them into nothingness, and stunted the growth of the women's national team. And Markgraf allowed that to happen for multiple tournaments. She kept Vlatko around after it was very clear that from the 21 Olympics that he maybe isn't the person for the job. I still thought that the talent we had on the field should outclass the deficiencies in coaching. But yeah, it was disappointing for the women's national team. And there were a lot of problems that, again, we made wholesale changes. Markgraf out, Vlatko out. Again, I think they took too long to make that decision. But ultimately now you're looking at a thing and you go, okay, this was disappointing. This was a failure. This was a problem. And you went, well, how do we address it? And you go hire the best club, one of the best coaches in the world that you possibly could get. And quite honestly, the coach that I think most people thought we probably wouldn't be able to get. She was, I think, one of 2 or 3 coaches that you went, yeah, she's there, but it's not really a possibility. And you went out and got her. And so, yes, it was disappointing, but now you have to at least give the U.S. Soccer credit for going, that's not good enough. We're going to make sure that we are doing the absolute best we can. This is great sounds of Atlanta play outside of my window.
I was going to say that they ain't coming after you there, are they?
No,
not yet. So. No, those were not the Manchester City and Manchester United police after you.
No.
Men's side, when it comes to the men's team in 2023, let's start with, since you gave me one word with the women, what word would you mention with the men?
Probably frustrating.
Okay.
I don't want to say apathetic, but maybe complacent, maybe a better word. I think the rehire Greg Berhalter was the opposite of the hiring of Emma Hayes. I'm not even going to sit here and tell you why Berhalter is or is not a good coach. That's not what I'm here to do, because I think I made it very clear that I thought he was fine, but I did not want him to continue on to a second term.
Yeah.
I think that is a very fair position to have. And anyone who says, oh, well, second cycle coaches are really good. And it's like, yeah, Didier Deschamps won a damn World Cup. Like that's my level. You have to surpass supremely the status you were at before you took over the job.
So you have to win. So you have to wear the You have to win the Interplanetary Cup, is what you're saying.
you do have to outshine what you did before. And if you look at Greg Berhalter and say, well, he qualified for a World Cup and made the knockout rounds because the last time we didn't qualify for the World Cup, you're admitting that not qualifying for the World Cup is a somewhat okay thing that happened, right? You're going, yeah, I mean, that the next guy who qualified, that's amazing. Oh my gosh, we have to keep him around. I just think that it was a move that indicated they were happy with where things were and didn't really want to take on the project of trying to grow and build on what had happened. And it's very fair to say that the matches we've had since then have been uninspiring.
But have you been at full strength in those matches? And
yes, for the most part, yes, you have. Yes, you can talk about not being super full strength against Trinidad and Tobago, but you can't. We were still not looking fantastic. Now, granted, I will admit that we looked pretty darn good away to before Sergiño Dest went Super Saiyan. But it still is one of those things where Greg Berhalter's problems continue to show more often than the benefits that Greg Berhalter has. And, I think it's a little bit of a showing of stagnation, that you're okay with where we are instead of saying, how do we get something better? And that's just really where it is. Now, the players have, I think most of the players, especially you look at Pulisic and Weah and Musa, who moved from not great club situations into good club situations. That was good. I think individually, the end of 2020, the 2022-2023 season for a lot of players was not great. But now a lot of those players have turned it around. I mean, Ricardo Pepi, I know he's not playing a whole lot, but scoring a lot. You've got, Balogun at Monaco. You've got players in good positions now, and that is promising. So, I just think that it's frustrating because you kept a coach around who was, again, I'm not saying he was good or bad. I thought what he did was fine. It just seemed like you weren't trying to push the program forward and instead said, yeah, let's just run it back.
So then I guess this would be the moment of the year, but not for the right reason. Provided it loads in a time of facts.
Aquí tiene que ser amonestado. Pero qué tarjeta tanto. Y ojo que no le saquen la roja. Claro.
Yeah, the drums in the background are fantastic.
Está caliente por aquella que cobraron lateral cuando le pegaron a él. Ah, bueno, esta es doble amarilla. Si no la saca, el árbitro no puede dirigir nunca más. Le tiró un beso, tiene que ser expulsado, lo tratan de calmar los jugadores. Ahí está, doble amarilla. Muy bien Walter López. Pero muy bien Walter López. Una tontería, porque ahora no podrá jugar el próximo partido de este torneo, que es la semifinal de la Liga de Naciones.
The moment of the year for the wrong reason.
Yeah. Well, and let's not, pretend like everything was bad, because there were highs, right? I mean, you look at the the Nations League run in March and January and June, right? The Nations League was a good success, right? I mean, you beat Mexico 3-0, you beat Canada 2-0. I think you prove that your best is the best in the region, right? And even the Gold Cup, going to the semifinal with that team, to me, was still a pretty decent success, right? I think, again, there are positives within this year, but then you look at, are the positives making us better on the world stage? And I don't think they are.
One other thing that I wanted to
that was a really negative review of 2023, by the way. Hopefully 2024.
Well, but that's what next Monday, next Tuesday next Monday on a Tuesday is all about. We're going to look at 24 next week on Tuesday.
Yeah. Also, Dan, 100%. D Graham 576 over there, ignoring the reason we didn't qualify in 2018 was because of technically a second-term manager, and then a third repeated manager as well. So yeah, I mean, look, that's just where I am with Berhalter, is that I don't think he has improved as a coach yet.
Story from Osasu Obayuwana over at The Guardian, and I know this will shock you. This will absolutely stun you to wrap up your segment. FIFA has been heavily criticized for negotiating an 8.5-year tax exemption for the 2023 Women's World Cup when the players in Australia ended up paying 32.5% of their match fee income to the country's tax office. Football's world governing body is exempt from paying tax on any income in or from Australia until New Year's Eve 2028. But as The Guardian revealed last month, players from several countries forced to pay almost a third of their match fee income to the ATO. Stark contrast to the co-hosts, New Zealand, whose Inland Revenue Department exempted FIFA and the players from all taxes. I know that shocks you.
Listen, the IRS is going to get their money. The ATO sounds like they're the same. They're going to get their money. It's frustrating, right? This is, again, where FIFA, why didn't you have this settled beforehand? That's FIFA. They think that they're doing great things for women's soccer, when in reality it's the players and fans who are doing great things for women's soccer.
Nigeria, one of the countries hit by the tax rules, with the Super Falcons players receiving $42,500 of their $60,000 match fees as a result of the ATO deductions. Other teams playing all their games in Australia had the same level of taxation applied to them. South Africa's players were even worse off, as they've been hit by double taxation, the South African Revenue Service as well as the ATO. While they played most of the games in New Zealand, the ATO taxed them at pro rata for the days spent in Australia. Not a surprise, but,
that sucks, though. Man, that really... Especially because, I mean, look. Yes, $42,000 is still a lot of money for, a month of work. But the fact is that you probably went into this thinking, oh, yeah, I'm not going to be taxed on this. Or at least I'll be taxed very minimally on this.
Yeah.
And you're not.
Right.
And that really sucks, especially for these players, most of whom aren't making a whole lot of money at their club. Some of them not making any money from a professional standpoint, and some of whom aren't even getting paid by their federation outside of this one World Cup tournament. So that part sucks.
Yep. What are you up to on New Year's and New Year's Eve and New Year's Day?
I haven't gotten that far. I'm trying to get through tomorrow.
Smart man.
I'll be swimming in mayonnaise hopefully tomorrow. So.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Heading up tonight to Charlotte. We'll be at the bowl game tomorrow.
Duke's Mayo. Wow.
The Duke's
all right. Well.
Mayo Bowl. Also, by the way, I saw a clip on I forget which news, it was CNN or something. I don't know. They were decrying the state of college bowl games now, and they're talking about the names. And I'm like, I don't know. I think the Duke's Mayo Bowl is a fantastic bowl name. Personally,
they got to work on their creepy mascot though.
You know what? I think the Mayo Bowl understands where it is in the pecking order of bowl games. And the reality of bowl situations right now is you have 5 good bowl games that matter, maybe 4. And the rest are just exhibitions. I don't think the bowl games should go on your record.
You have 36 3.5-hour television programs that you're trying to
I don't think bowl games should go on your record. Like, I don't think that should count as a win or loss. And mainly because losing a bowl game to me doesn't indicate anything about you as a player or coach.
All right.
Especially nowadays where half the players are saying, no, I don't want to play because, they're worried about staying healthy for the draft.
16 starters out for the game against Georgia. Thank you very much. I'm going to be enjoying that a whole lot. Enjoy the Duke's Mayo Bowl, sir. We will catch up with you next Tuesday when we have next Monday on a Tuesday.
Soccer refereeing down here on a Monday on a Tuesday. Yes.
Correct. All right. Be safe, my friend.
Enjoy talking to those Newcastle fans.